Yo folks, and welcome to the channel. My name is Bork. In today's video, I'll be talking about Clan Battle 10 with the Ghost Boss, and not to mention a should you pulls for Nanaka. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. First things being are the bosses. So the Goblin Boss right here, he's gonna be dealing large physical attack damage, and he's also gonna be increasing his physical defense. He's not a crazy boss. He's gonna be your mutual sort of Wyvern dude, nothing to worry about. When it comes to the Wyvern, just gonna be inflicting magical damage, just your standard chicken. We fought him countless times. Then we have the Ghost Lord right here. He's just gonna be reducing your action speed and dealing some magic damage. Just note, throw your Ilya teams at this and he's probably going to be dying. And then we have the Dark Unicorn right here, who's going to be dealing high damage to our highest physical attack power and also doing a little bit of TP reduction. And he's going to be doing some more magical damage and applying the curse state. Very interesting, but the biggest thing is going to be the Capricorn Lord right here. Just note that he's going to be reducing your physical attack power and reducing your magic defense. So his attacks are going to hit harder. He's also going to inflict magical damage extraordinarily large on the character with the highest physical attack power and reduce his TP or her TP as well. Just note that inflict magic damage to 2 small enemies and provide a silent state, so he's going to be a little bit annoying. Now my favorite part about this entire clan battle is that things are going to be sifted. So stage 2 is going to start at lap 4, stage 3 is going to be from lap 11, and the removal of the 5th boss enrage. So you don't have to worry about this guy, timing it so that, oh, does everyone have to be present before we deal like the attack against him, like having 50% less health or whatever. Everyone will have the same exact position in the sense that when you get to this boss and you get to enrage, everyone just has to attack and he won't go into like this weird perpetual state where he does more damage. Now we're all equal and we are all fair. We don't have to be as coordinated, at least when throwing random attacks at our bosses. Now, important things to note is thank you to Violet for U1845 for posting this information right here. This is going to be all of the auto teams from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3. Absolutely phenomenal information that I love to cover, but let's go ahead and talk about tier 1. So the premier character that we're going to have is going to be Christina, and I know some people are kind of upset because we don't have UE. It is what it is at the end of the day, but at least we have Christina. And just note that essentially everyone's 11-5 or 10-6 when it comes to Tomo, and Makoto should be at 9-5 at least for tier 1 fights, alright? Violet explains essentially 11-5 will be better when your Makoto is going to be tanking. So for situations like this where Makoto is going to be in the front of Summer Tamaki, and then you have Tomo right here, and then you have the Christinas and Shoris, this team is going to be dealing massively more damage. Just note that this team, these 2 teams in particular, will be like the premier team. So you have Saren again with Christina, and then you have your Summer Tamakis, and then again with like, the Saren teams and Kaoris, Makotos. If you scroll a little bit down on the GOAT, you can see the same exact team, except for the GOAT, you're going to actually run Halloween or normal Shinobu, and then you're going to have the Christinas and Junes right here. The June Saren comp is just going to be with us forever. But when it comes down to this, the biggest thing that I have to say is should you pull for Nanaka right now? Because I know you can see her, she's definitely a pivotal unit. But when it comes down to Nanaka, she is mostly special because of the fact that she is going to be dealing some magical defense reduction. I guess that's like the biggest thing that she has on her. So you see, lowers magical defense on her skill 1, which is pretty nice. And then her Union Burst is going to be dealing high physical or high magical damage based off of the enemy's HP. And then deals moderate magical damage to the highest remaining HP, which is going to be the boss, and inflicts a stun. Just note that the stun's probably not going to work on a majority of bosses, but she will be useful for, bosses that can be stunned. So is she going to be like a must pull for people who want to stay within like the top 100 or the top 20s? Then yeah, Nanaka is going to be for you. But for a majority of players, she's just really not there. She's only going to be a 2-star unit. And in order for her to function, she needs to be at 3-star. So you're probably going to need Divine Amulets in order to 3-star her, because her shop stuff isn't available, at least for quite some time. And it's only going to be through the Arena shop and of course through the Princess shop, where, the Divine Amulet shop. But just note, she's just really not worth it for a bunch of free-to-plays. The character that I would probably focus on is mostly Christina. And you can see, like, based off of the charts that Violet provided, essentially, let's say I don't want to run Saren on this Goblin comp right here with like the Kaori on top. Then you can essentially replace her with Kokoro, Summer Tamaki, so on and so forth. So these characters are essentially going to be interchangeable. For example, you don't have Christina, then run Hiyori or run Mitsuki. You don't have Tomo right here, then run Shuri, Suzuna, or Arisa. Essentially, that's how like this thing is going to flow, I believe, or it's gonna go from like top up. But I feel like this is the way it's separated. So in case you guys are like, I don't have certain units, essentially you're gonna have interchangeable units that are going to be showcased. So for example, you don't have Nanaka right here, well you can run Carol, Hatsune, or Misaki. So it's up to you. And you can also run like a Makoto charge team with Ayane on tier 1 for the Wraith boss, but ideally you run a magical team because that's going to be your third best team against a majority of like these different bosses. So I believe Wraith is going to be the most important boss when it's going to be tier 1. All right, moving onward to tier 2, it's going to be a little bit different. Instead of running, you know, the Saren at the back, you're going to be running Summer Kokoro, mostly so you can get the heals off. As you can see, it's going to be your standard June Saren comp, and then it's going to be the Summer Kokoro teams, and then your standard June Saren comp. And of course, with the Wraith boss, we're going to be running the Ilya teams. Just a little bit deviation with your Nanaka. You might want to run your Carols or Hatsunes or possibly your Karis or Summer or normal Kokoros, right? So there's going to be a bunch of different characters that you can essentially run with all these different teams. But just know, when it comes to the Go, it looks like Shinobu is going to be a prime factor. I don't have my like Shinobu at 8.6, so that's going to suck. So it looks like I'm probably going to be running like this June team right here. Ideally avoid the June Saren team because that's only 860k, and try to run like the Tomo one if you can, or you know, all the various different teams that you can run. But it's gonna suck essentially if you don't have Christina because you're gonna be missing out on damage. But just know it's really not that necessary in my opinion if you're just more of a chill clan, and that's where a majority of us are. And I'm not really trying to push for people to be in like these top tier levels. Now when it comes to getting to tier 3, I think this is gonna be generally a lot harder. We'll see, mostly because it's gonna take at least one day to clear one lap, unless you're like an absolute god. I mean, because you know, getting to stage 3 at lap 11, I just feel like it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be our first CB technically trying to, you know, have this many laps in it. Usually we only get to like what, like lap 6 or lap 7 for a majority of folks. So we'll see. At the end of the day, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a lot of tier 3 people. But this is where Makoto 11.5 is going to be really necessary, because that is where she's going to have a majority of her defense, and that's what's actually going to allow her to stay in the front position. But just note that the Goblin boss, we're actually going to want to run a magical team, interestingly enough, but you're probably going to be wanting to run someone like Shizuru, alright? And the reason why Shizuru is going to be so important is because she's going to provide physical defenses for everyone in the back. Or you can essentially run Miyako. It's probably not going to be anywhere near the same, because Shizuru is just a little bit better of a tank in my opinion, because she can actually protect people in the back with her physical barrier. Maybe Miyako works, I'm not entirely sure. I believe like everyone must be at 11.5 in order for this to work, and I would probably run Carol instead of Hatsune in this scenario. Now when it comes to this, there's also going to be like the Miyako or June like sort of team right here with 1.38 million. I'll probably save like the June team for like the chicken or maybe horse or goat bosses later on. But when it comes down to the chicken, it looks like you're just going to be running your June Saren teams or June Christina teams, and then you could also run like your Summer Tamaki teams over here. It looks like it's hard to avoid to run the June Saren teams for a majority of like these fights, because June Saren team seems to be very laggard, or at least consistent damage, but it's not going to be like top tier damage. If you can run like the Christina teams appropriately, it seems like you're going to be dealing like an extra 400k. Just in case you guys are like sort of curious, like 940k to 1.38 million is a pretty huge difference, or 940k compared to 1.44. This is something to sort of look at while we're going through this stuff, right? Now you can also run your magic teams against the Wraith once again. I think it'll be a little bit hard to run the Ilya 11.5, but, and not to mention Ilya could possibly kill herself, just note that. But you can see here there's an Ilya-less team, but it requires a Nanaka, or you might have to use like your Carol. Very interesting that we're going to be using Halloween Misaki quite frequently, and she's also going to be a character that's going to be very apparent in the magical teams. I'm not sure if you saw it. Yeah, because I was mistaken when I said this was like Misaki. It's going to be Hollow Misaki. So if you pulled for her, kudos to you, because you're definitely going to be dealing extra damage on CB. But in my opinion, I don't think Halloween Misaki is going to be that necessary. And when it comes to the horse, you're going to be running ideally a Ruka team. but I'm probably going to be using something like this Christina team right here with the Tomo and Nozomi and stuff. This Ruka team is probably best just because of the fact that she has like the defense breaks and she can keep a little bit of the folks alive in the back. And then when it comes to the Go, ideally you are running the June team. Now it looks like you can run a Kaori team, but you're gonna use the Summer Suzume, which is very interesting because we have never seen her in action. Yeah, wow, she's gonna be actually meta because instead of dealing 1 million, you're gonna be dealing 1 million to like 1.26 million depending on stars and stuff. So that's gonna be very interesting. This boss is gonna ask a lot of different things from us. I didn't think he was gonna want like Summer Suzume within like our actual ranks. That's like the last character that I thought of, but it sort of makes sense since he's gonna be like magic oriented, and I guess Summer Suzume can do a little bit of taunts with like the golems and stuff. Maybe like the golem dude is gonna do something about the fact that he does AP reduction or TP reduction or something. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of reasons why you have to run Summer Suzume. Just note that she works at 3-star, but a majority of us don't have Summer Suzume. This is gonna be one of her niche usages. Let's go ahead and jump into PvP so we can talk about a few things. I am very interested to see like how many people are actually going to have like Holland Misaki and not to mention Nanaka, because those two units are super niche, and then it gets even more niche with the release of Summer Suzume actually being meta for this particular banner, because I don't know very many people who can actually run Summer Suzume effectively, and all of these teams, they have like Ninon here. So I ideally should not be running someone like her. Let's go ahead and run a team like this and see what the heck happens. Like, I doubt we're gonna win, but we can sure as heck try. That's all I can say for this one. I'm really curious though if people will easily get to stage 3 or tier 3 bosses with this CB, because most of our damage is probably going to be going to the GOAT. But the GOAT also seems like he's not going to be an issue until like the tier 3 range. And he's going to be easy up until like that point, because we're going to be able to deal like 1.5 million damage to like the GOAT for the most part. And then when it comes to his tier 3 form, we're going to be dealing like 1 million. So he's going to be absolute pain once we get to the tier 3 section. And I'm curious what people are going to say because we don't have unique equipment. I know people are sort of dying and like, you know, frothing at the mouth for unique equipment, because without unique equipment, we cannot function as a community within Princess Connect right now. I have that very strong feeling. All right, we are getting absolutely decimated by this Halloween Miyako. She's just taking everyone out from the back. Can Christina do anything? Can we take down? Yep, we take down that Halloween Miyako. Then I don't think this lone character right here can handle our Christina. Yeah, Mitsuki can't tango with just like these two in the back. Come on, Christina, take her out. Show us the money. We can actually do this. And there we go. We got the dub right there. Love to see it. But I also had to like configure my teams to actually beat this, so I had to try a little bit harder. I guess that's the way it is for this fight in particular, because there's no way Ilya teams can essentially beat these armies of Halloween Shinobus, because they are everywhere. Halloween changing up the game for Arena. Anyways, hopefully this helps you out with all the various teams. Huge credits again to Violet. Without them, this video would not be possible. Huge love. But anyways, if you made it this far in today's video, consider subscribing, dropping a like, leaving a comment, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter. Once we hit 27,000 followers, we're doing a giveaway. Thanks so much for watching. Have yourself a fantastic day, and see you guys in the next one.